Good afternoon, viewers. Welcome to Unique. This is your host, Dr. Akudo Ehirim, and we're going to continue with the topic domestic violence in our community. But today we're going to talk about the legal aspect of domestic violence. We have been defining domestic violence, abuse, causes of abuse, signs of abuse, but we have not really talked about the legal aspect of it. Is it a crime? Is it something that is against the law? Is there some convictions about it? Do people go to jail for this? And to talk about this topic today in the studio is Dr. Ijeoma Opara.
Welcome to the Unique Show.
Mr. Ken Owen.
Good afternoon, viewers, and welcome to the show.
So today, viewers, don't go anywhere. Sit down and listen. We are here to inform, we're here to educate, and we're here to empower. Abuse. What is abuse? Abuse has been defined as a repetitive pattern of behavior to maintain control and power over another person. What are your views on abuse? Let's start with you, Mr. Ken.
Well, as we have said before, anytime you have a bully in an environment trying to compel others to do things his way, regardless of how those people being compelled feel about it, they are being abused.
Exactly. Dr. Opara?
Abuse, as some of you may not know, is a crime. It is a crime in the United States. It's a crime all over the world. If you find yourself in a situation where you are being controlled by somebody else, by whatever means, and that person is especially a member of your family, that is domestic violence. But if that person is not a member of your family and you are being bullied or abused by that person, that is also against the law. So whichever way you look at it, abuse, pure and simple, is a crime, punishable under the laws.
Wow. Guys, I hope you had that. So domestic violence, according to the law, is power over somebody within your family system.
That's
somebody
correct.
you are in a close relationship with. It can be your spouse, it can be a loved one, it can be a mate, it can be a lover. So when we talk about domestic abuse, we have been saying it is control and power over somebody. Can we talk a little bit about that? What kind of control, what kind of power do you have over the next person? Dr. Opara, can you explain more on that?
Our power can come in different forms.
Okay.
When you are being abused, it can come in the form of intimidation. It can come in the form of terrorizing you. It can come in the form of threatening you with harm. It can also come in the form of isolation, making sure that you don't have friends, you don't have people that you can confide in. It's also going to come in terms of threatening to commit suicide or to kill themselves if the relationship is ended. This aspect is what we look at as manipulation.
Wow.
You're being manipulated into thinking that if you left that relationship, the abuser will not survive. But that is not the truth. It's a means of control.
Wow. Mr. Ken, I want you to jump in here. She's trying to say that even when you're in a domestic violence relationship and the abuser is threatening, you can't leave me. If you leave me, I will die. You're trying to tell us it's a form of control.
That's correct.
What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, that could be real and also a form of manipulation. Because some people are crazy enough to make a statement and fulfill it. Some people will say if you leave them, they will come after you, and if you do, they will really come after you. Whereas others will say that as a way of getting you to do what they want. In that case, is still a form of control. And in addition to that, I will say that abuse could be psychological, it could be physical. For instance, if I'm faced with somebody who I know that can beat me up, I may be in the right, but the person say, if you speak again, I'm going to beat you up. And I'm forced to keep quiet. I'm being abused. This happens more because men are physically stronger on the average than women. So some men can take advantage of that and say, if you don't shut up, I'm going to slap you. And you shut up. It's a form of abuse. However, I would add that women, you talk too much. So if your husband once in a while says, shut up, just step back and discuss with him. Don't keep running your mouth so that the other party doesn't even have an opportunity of discussing. So if you use your verbal advantage, you're also abusing the man.
Mr. Ken, I'm sorry. with all due respect, I'm going to disagree with you on that.
Okay.
There is no amount of running your mouth that will justify domestic violence against someone that you claim to love. More importantly, the mother of your children. More importantly, the person of your family member.
Information, no. I'm not trying to justify it.
Okay.
I'm saying that women are verbally stronger than men.
Okay.
And if you take advantage of that verbal strength, to put down the man and talk, knowing that he can't beat you, he can't do anything, and he cows as a result of what you're saying.
Okay.
You are the person abusing him now.
So what you're
talking about verbal abuse?
Yeah, what
Yes.
you're saying now is verbal abuse.
Yes.
What he's trying to say is that women might not be involved in the physical abuse.
Yes.
But women are involved in the verbal abuse.
Exactly.
Because they use their words to also hurt the man.
Oh, yeah.
Because the man cannot talk as fast as women do. So women do the more of the verbal abuse,
yes,
while the men do more of the physical
abuse,
emotional, and the other kinds
well,
of abuse.
Women do emotional abuse too.
Okay, let me
like
ask you.
If a woman comes into most men, when they are having hard time, feel really bad.
Okay.
And they don't need to be reminded by their wife. Or their wife or girlfriend or whoever they or partner, whoever they're living with, that hey, you are useless, good for nothing, and that kind. That's a form of abuse. If you are with somebody, if you don't love the person, at least you respect him, to understand that what you say in his environment has a way of impacting him.
Okay.
So I don't know the ingredients that make up love, but I know what you could do that demonstrates that you respect somebody. You do not
put the person down.
You don't put the person down. Whenever you do that, and hey, the man can do, there is nothing the man can do, you are actually abusing the person verbally.
Okay, so what you're saying, but remember, I want the audience to be clear on this. This is not only for women too. There are some men too that also use verbal abuse.
Oh yeah.
But I understand that it's more on women because we talk more.
Yes.
But there are some men too that use verbal abuse on their mates and their loved ones and their partners.
It could
and their
be from
wives.
either party.
So it can be either women or men. You know, so that's what I want to say.
But I want to make
there.
something clear.
Okay.
If a woman is running her mouth, she's probably not in that kind of abusive relationship that we're talking about.
Okay.
The abuse that we're talking about here transcends all aspects of abuse.
Okay.
These men use verbal abuse also as a form of intimidation. By putting the woman down, by making her feel less of herself, by removing her self-worth. These are also ways where women are being abused.
Okay.
Yes, women run their mouth. But if you're running your mouth, which is another instance that I wanted to bring out, a lot of women are in abusive relationship, but they don't know it.
Yes.
Because they think that because they are fighting back, because they are running their mouth, because they can talk, they are not being abused.
Exactly.
But that's not it. Abuse takes different forms. And you can still be abused even though you're fighting back.
Exactly.
You can still be abused even though you're running your mouth. Because when you run your mouth, you get hit. When you are being put down in front of others, you are also being abused.
Okay.
When you are shouted down, anytime you want to air your own opinion, you are being abused. If you're not allowed to express yourself, no matter how irrelevant, no matter how stupid you may sound, you are also being abused. So abuse, yes, men can be abused. I agree. Women can be abused. I also agree. But statistics have shown that in every 15 minutes, a woman is being abused. Statistics have also shown
15 seconds.
Sorry, 15 seconds.
15 seconds.
And statistics have also shown that this case of domestic violence or abuse is more with the women than with men. Women are 80% being abused more than men. And people like Bill Clinton saw that. That's why they allowed the VAWA, where women can petition for themselves, self-petition, to get their papers. Because they know that cases of women being abused is more prevalent in the communities and at a higher rate than the cases of men being abused by their women.
It may be so, no doubt. I'm not here to defend men or women. All we're trying to do is to explain a scenario or circumstance where either party may be in an abusive relationship.
That's correct.
That's correct.
Now, women, for the most part, men don't set out to be their women.
Okay.
Most men don't do that. But some women don't know where to stop.
Okay.
And as a result of that, a very good man, in cause of this, may lose his temper.
Okay.
And at the end of which, the woman gets slapped. Whereas, if she were a little bit wise and knew where to stop, it would not get that far. And all I'm saying is that if you step back to think about what you're saying or the impact of your words on your partner, it will probably not translate to abuse.
Okay, hold on a second. Let me throw this question since we're in that area. So I will throw this question out to Ken and out to you too, Dr. Opara. So is there, let us say a woman doesn't know when to stop, because a lot of people are watching out there. Let's say a woman doesn't know when to stop. She can't control herself. She is verbally abusing the man. But does it justify the man losing his temper and hitting her?
No. Okay. Hitting anybody is never justified.
Exactly.
As I said, I'm not trying to make excuse for men.
Okay.
Hitting anybody, either a man hitting a woman or a woman hitting a man, is never justified.
Okay.
However, you want to organize your relationship at a level where hitting is not involved.
Exactly.
And I'm just making a suggestion that women, if you are unable to control your mouth, you are inviting the hitting. That doesn't mean that it is justified.
Okay.
But if you stopped before you get that far, nobody will be hit.
Okay.
Men lose their temper, women lose their temper. But if you respect somebody enough and you make a statement, he hasn't responded, you knew he had you, like he just didn't want to respond, walk away. Stop trying to get him to a point he will lose his temper. That's all I'm saying, that if you have to drive the man to that level of insanity, you are the person doing the abuse.
Okay.
Mr. Ken, I've heard what you said, and you are right on some aspects, but the aspect of today's discussion is that a domestic violence is a crime.
Okay.
Oh, there's no doubt in that.
The reason we're bringing it out that it is a crime is to educate our audience so that they can know the consequences of hitting a spouse.
That's where I'm going to get
because
to now.
in as much as a woman runs her mouth or a man runs her mouth, these are maybe some of the causes. But because we have those causes, it does not remove the criminal consequences of this type of domestic violence.
All right, guys, hold it, audience. We are on it. Don't go anywhere. We'll take a little break and we'll be right back.
My name is Attorney Ijeoma Opara, reaching out to you this afternoon from Omega Studios, Atlanta, Georgia, at the Unique Show. We handle immigration cases, federal drug cases, drug crimes, and family matters. You can reach us at the Law Office of Opara and Associates in Houston, Texas, 281-895-8003 or 281-895-8057. We handle all kinds of cases and we go all over United States. You can always give us a call. We are very aggressive in what we do and we're hands-on. Thank you. We're waiting for your call. Llámame si habla español. Thank you.
Welcome back, guys. We are still talking about the legal aspect of domestic violence. Now we are going to go to the consequences, legal consequences of domestic violence. Let's start with you, Dr. Opara. What are some of the legal consequences of domestic violence?
Like I said, domestic violence is a crime. There are forms of domestic violence that we have already talked about.
Okay.
But all we look at in the community is physical abuse. Physical abuse is not the only form of domestic violence. Even in the state of Georgia, there doesn't have to be physical contact for you to charge someone with domestic violence.
Oh, really?
Yes, and the consequences include prison term.
Okay.
It includes probation. It includes deferred adjudication, which will be on your record. Now, if you are not a citizen of United States and you commit domestic violence within 5 years of getting your green card, it is called aggravated felony. You'll be deported.
Wow.
If you are not a citizen of the United States and you commit domestic violence, even if you are not deported, you may not get your citizenship. You may not be employed in the healthcare industry or some other industries where children are involved. Domestic violence is no longer a private matter. It's no longer between husband and wife. It's no longer between the family of the wife and the family of the husband. Even if a woman who is being abused does not report her husband, neighbors can report the husband for domestic violence.
Are you serious?
Yes.
And will it go to court even though the woman is not part of it?
Even if a woman withdraws her domestic violence charge against her husband, both in the state of Georgia and in the state of Texas, where I'm coming from, it is a state matter, and the police will take it up, and the woman and the man will be prosecuted to the highest extent of the law.
Wow.
The DAs, district attorneys, they are not playing about domestic violence because it has eaten into the fabric, and women are being abused all the time. But the worst part of this whole thing is that a lot of women are getting killed every day, and that's why they don't play with domestic violence anymore. So for our audience that are out there, the reason we're doing this topic today is for them to know the consequences, the legal consequences
Of domestic violence.
if you commit abuse against an ordinary person. The punishment can range depending if it is a misdemeanor or a felony. Punishment range can be from 1 year imprisonment to 5 years with a fine of maybe 1,000 in Georgia. But if you commit domestic violence against a family member in Georgia, your punishment range can go all the way to 5 years, and your fine can go all the way to 5,000. And if it is an aggravated domestic violence,
Can you explain that to our audience, those of us that don't know what is aggravated?
aggravated domestic violence involves serious bodily harm
Okay.
or using deadly weapons like a knife or a gun. However, the audience need to know that deadly weapon does not stop with a gun or a knife. A shoe is a deadly weapon.
Oh,
A
really?
stick is a deadly weapon.
Throwing bags, throwing things.
Bags, throwing things, those are deadly weapons. Any object that you have that can result in injury is a deadly weapon. So that enhances the punishment level, which we called aggravation. So that's the aggravated felony. In Georgia alone, if you commit ordinary assault, aggravated assault on someone who is not a family, member, you're looking at 20
years in.
20 to 25 years.
Audience, I hope you're listening.
But if you commit it against a family member, you're looking at 20 to 50 years.
Wow.
Because
In the state of Georgia.
in the state of Georgia. In the state of Texas, it's similar. It depends on the level. If it is a class A misdemeanor, a class B misdemeanor. But all these things have immigration consequences, especially for immigrants. Because one, it is aggravated felony. There is almost no relief. You'll be deported. Two, it is a crime of moral turpitude. Because it is a crime of violence.
So explain that to our audience.
It's a crime of violence under immigration law.
Okay.
Therefore, you will probably be deported. And even if you're not deported, you may not be allowed to get your citizenship. So it does only that it affects you that way, it affects you in every aspect of your life, especially for people in diaspora. So those are the consequences that we have to be mindful of now, especially the fact that you cannot be allowed to withdraw your case anymore. It's not a private matter.
Because before, a woman can call the police.
Yes.
And then a woman can go back and say, I'm dropping the charges. So what you're telling us and telling the audience is that even if the woman drops the charges, the state will still prosecute the case. They will still go ahead and do the case.
That is correct.
Wow.
The dropping will not be allowed. Well, the
Jump in here, please.
the legal consequences are out there. However, my fear is they say hell has no fury than a woman. How do you guys say it?
Than a woman scorned.
Than a woman scorned.
Yes.
A woman, when she gets angry at you, will do things that are very extreme just to hurt you, including lying, including hurting herself, knowing that when the police come, they're gonna arrest the man.
Okay.
Please don't use this as information to hurt your partner. You know, if you call a police, they're gonna arrest the man and then destroy him. If you do that, you're gonna win in the court, but if you believe in God, somehow I believe you're gonna pay for it. Because a good number of people want to hurt somebody the way they can whenever they get angry at the person. When we talk of real abuse, that is wrong. Either whether it is coming from the man or the woman. But no party should take advantage of what the law says and use that as a cloak to punish the other partner.
I agree with you. Let me come in a little bit on that. I agree with you on that, Ken. But we have a little issue also. What you're saying, the converse is also true. If a man is being abused and he reports to the police, this VAWA law that I mentioned before, which is violence against women, in as much as it says violence against women,
so he has the same
it
right
is also violence against men.
Okay.
So he has the same right that the woman has for the protection of the police. Okay. So if a man is also being abused, he can also take advantage of that law. What we're trying to teach the audience today is to avoid abuse. Because not saying about abuse or pretending that it's not happening or covering it up
doesn't take it away.
Is the source of many deaths of women based on domestic violence.
And also, audience, I want to use this opportunity and stress this out, like Mr. Ken said. Because I'm angry at my husband, or because I asked him to give me something and he refused to give me something, and because we are in a land where if I call the police and make up lies, my husband will be arrested. Please, let's not take advantage of it.
That's right.
There was a story a woman told me. No, a man told me the story. He and his wife were arguing over something. And the wife said, oh, I'm going to call the cops. And the wife called the cops and told the police that the husband hit her. The police are not dumb. So the guy came with a lady police woman. So the woman took her into the bathroom, and all the places she said she was hit, the lady looked at her all through and told her you were not hit. So if you are out there and you're using it to control your partner, that is also the kind of abuse we are talking about. Because if you are a woman out there or you are a man out there and you're threatening your partner with calling the police, maybe hurting yourself and lying somebody hurt you, what you're doing is you're taking us 20 years backwards. Because we are trying to come up and stop this and you're manipulating it. What you're doing is you are stopping 50,000 other women out there that have genuine cases.
Yes.
And their cases will be taken as nothing because you're sitting out here and lying about it. So please, audience, let us take this seriously. Don't manipulate, don't deceive, don't do things that you know are not right because you want to get your partner in trouble because you're angry at them. Because what you're doing, like I said, you're taking us 20 years backwards. We are trying to say no to domestic violence, but we are not saying no to wrong domestic violence or falsified domestic violence. We are talking about the real thing here.
Yes.
So let us talk about the real thing and help our sisters, our brothers get help. Don't make up stories to hurt each other because it is not fair. That is somebody's brother, that is somebody's son, and that is somebody's brother-in-law, whatever. Just like the woman is also somebody's daughter, somebody's sister-in-law, and somebody's mother.
And more importantly,
I would add a little to that. The case, in the case you cited, I believe the man was extremely lucky that the lady police officer was a sensible person.
Yes.
I'm not a lawyer. However, my observation in Georgia is that if a policeman comes to your place on a domestic violence call, he is not interested in either one of you. He wants to to stop the possibility of one of you killing each other. And what he's gonna do is to ask the man to leave the house, find a hotel and stay or wherever. If you don't have money, you got problem. And if the man says no, he's gonna ask the woman to leave. If the woman says no, the next step he's gonna take is arrest both of you and have you sleep in the jail, regardless of who is right or wrong.
Exactly.
So the attitude is not finding who is right or wrong, but by the time they stayed in jail, they will calm down. So you don't want a scenario where you are pushed to calm down in jail.
In jail.
You are better off coming down in your place.
Own house.
Again, like I said, if you stopped the scenario from elevating to abuse, then you probably wouldn't have to call in police into your house.
Into your house. Okay, Dr. Opara.
And what I was going to say is that police, in as much as we don't give them credit, they are not as dumb as we think.
Yes.
Whenever you make up stories of abuse and they find out that you have made the story up, believe me, it is also a crime. You're not going to get away with false accusations
yes,
of domestic violence when it is not happening.
Yes.
So what we're talking about today are genuine cases of domestic violence,
yes,
and how it affects especially immigrants in the United States of America.
So now let's go there. That's where I wanted to go. Can you tell us, how does domestic violence affect immigrants, especially those of us in the diaspora? How does it affect us? Why is it that it's not reported? Because statistics, like you said before, has it that, is it 70% of abuse is never reported?
Almost 80%.
Almost 80%. So why? Can you guys throw in why? Because people are watching out there. If this is happening as often as we say is happening, why is it that it's not reported? Why is it that people are not talking about it?
Because several factors affect the reason why domestic violence is not being talked about.
Okay.
Number one is it is shameful.
It's a crime of shame.
It's a crime of shame. And the reason it becomes a crime of shame is not an original crime of shame. But when you do not speak out the first time
is
your hands are now tied.
Yes.
Because how will you explain to friends and family members that you are being abused, but you sat there and took it? So because of that shame, you don't report it. And that's what your abuser is counting on.
Okay, Ken, say a little bit on the shame. It's a crime of shame. What do you have to say before we move to the next?
It's not so much the shame. It is that, in my view, we come from a culture whereby when you take your case or family case to the police, is almost as the last resort. Police or the court system is not the place you use to make peace. It's the place you use to break up.
Okay.
So a good number of people may hold back, believing that, yes, I don't like this, but it's not gotten to the point
the extent
that
they minimize it.
Yes, that they have to break up. Because our culture is such that once we go to court, we're probably never going to be friends again.
Yeah, we have a combative outlook when it comes to court. Because if we go to court, then it's on. We're enemies for life.
Yes.
But that's really not what we are talking about today. We're not saying that people should go to court. And we're not saying that people should call police on their spouses.
Thank you.
We're just bringing this issue out so that people become aware when they find themselves in a domestic violence situation, so that they can find help before it is too late. Our goal is to prevent domestic violence before it escalates into the death of a human being. Which is maybe depriving little children of their mother, or depriving them of their father, or depriving family members of their source of livelihood. Because some of us that are here in diaspora, we know the role we play in our respective homes. Especially back in Nigeria.
Back home.
So cutting it short and cutting somebody's life short is what we're trying to say. Know the signs. Recognize it. Try your best to avoid it. If you cannot avoid it, seek some help. That's where we are.
Okay.
Because you don't want to die.
It doesn't have to get to the point of killing each other. That's
if we can get help.
That's an extreme position.
Yeah, if we can get
Again,
help.
like I said in one of our past shows, whenever you find yourself in a situation where something happening in your environment is something you don't like, or somebody is compelling you to do something that you ordinarily wouldn't like to do on your own, your husband or your wife probably have some friends you respect. from our culture, it is wrong to say, I'm not inviting another person into our home. That's probably the way you save your home. Because you get bottled up and then you explode. When you explode, you have reached the point of no return.
That's correct.
If you invite a friend of your husband or a friend of your wife, when this thing started early, and please let that friend be somebody who can play a good
and somebody
umpire.
you respect.
You have to respect the person.
Somebody you respect.
And
somebody that won't take sides.
Let that person come in as an umpire.
Yes.
Spit out the truth where you see it. You probably end up saving a family, saving a home. We don't have to let it grow to the point of inviting the police and then everybody is fighting. The relationship that started on a good slate now becomes a platform of Iraq war. We don't want that.
And that brings me to our next issue.
Why they don't
report it is because of what Mr. Ken rightly stated now. Because of culture, because of tradition. And that's why a lot of people are dying in silence.
Okay.
A lot of women are married 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. And in those 30 years, 40 years, they're being abused. But they are taking it because of our culture, because of the way our stigma that we attach to divorce or family breakups. And those things have affected the women adversely. And we are only talking about women. We're talking about women. Who are the true victims of domestic violence? The children.
The children. That's true.
If you watch in our environment, especially with people in diaspora, most of our children are finding it difficult to find mates.
To get married. That's
Why?
True.
They find it difficult to get mates because of what they have been experiencing in the homes.
In the homes.
Because we are covering it up, thinking that they are not being affected by it, but they are very much affected by it. Down the line, both men and women. So this thing is affecting our culture. So in as much as because of the culture, we don't report abuse the way we should. But we need to understand that those are one of the consequences, one of the causes why it is underreported. Because of those issues of cultural and family. And because when you report your husband to the police, like Mr. Ken rightly said, it goes out. How will it work when you get back to Nigeria?
Exactly.
Or any of the African
countries where you come
and they now know that you are the cause of whatever your husband is facing.
Is in jail.
Yes.
Exactly.
In the United States. Fear of that is also preventing women from reporting abuse.
That's true.
Like he said, bringing family and bringing friends helps in some cases. In other cases, it does not. Because some men are controlling by nature. Some women are controlling by nature. Those ones, bringing in family members is not going to help. It's better to find out when you are being abused, find out where you can get help, and get that help before it becomes too late.
Because like Dr. Opara, what you are saying, there was a lady that called me, and so when we were talking, she told me, she said her husband kept threatening her that he was going to make her disappear in Georgia and that nobody will ever find her. The husband will constantly beat her. She invited family friends, people that she knew her husband would respect and listen to. And then when they came, they told the husband everything. The husband promised it will never happen again, but that each time the husband got mad, the same thing repeated itself over and over and over and over again. She said she will go to the husband's friends and say, hey, your friend is not changing. It is the same story. I can't stay here and he will kill me. He hit me and I lost a 3-month-old baby. He hit me last time I had a 3.5-month miscarriage. I can't keep letting him hit me because he's going to kill me. And each time I go to the doctor, they ask me what happened. I will always lie. Either I will lie I fell down the steps, or I will lie and say something else because I don't want him to lose his license. So I keep covering up. His mother will call me from Nigeria and say, please, I know he has hot temper, don't do this to my son. She said she kept taking it until finally the man threatened her with a gun. Went and bought a gun and said he was buying it to protect them. But every time he got mad, he would get the gun and tell him, I'm going to blow your brains out. And she said when he got to that, she said, no, I'm getting out of this place. She packed her things and left. She told me, she said, Mr. Akudo, you know the funniest part of it? When I left, that was when all his friends now came to me and said, thank God you left because we thought he was going to kill you. But none of them were man enough to tell their friend, you are going to kill this girl. Because our culture makes it look like each time they come, no matter what happens, you have to stay in your husband's house. You cannot leave your husband.
Yes.
Manage it. Other women have gone through
Yes.
it. Manage. So she said, no, but it was when she left that the husband's friend said, we were so scared for you. We thought he was going to kill you. It's good you left, but let him have access to his children, but give him some time and let's see what will happen, whether they will make up or not.
And this one that we're talking about is a case of somebody who was able to get out. Similar scenario worked in our Dallas, Texas. The woman called friends. Friends have gone several times to make peace between her and her husband. And this last time, friends even advised her that maybe they need a breathing period between them, a break. She said, no, let me go back because of the children. That woman, as we are speaking today, is dead. She came back from work one day and her husband took a stick and beat her to death.
Well,
if she didn't go back or her husband had sought help, I'm not saying that this is the answer is leave your marriage.
No, get help.
I'm saying get
anger
help.
management, counseling. There are help out there.
Anger management. There are things that he can do. Talk to the pastor. Let the pastor counsel them. Let them know that domestic violence is not to be tolerated. It's a crime and it ought not to be tolerated. You guys can do that counseling together. You can work at it so that you can save yourself
and the marriage
and your children.
And the children. Yeah.
Now, the man is in jail for having, in death row, for having killed his wife. Where are the children? That's why I said that children are the true victims of domestic violence.
Well, I may have to add that it is not everybody that drinks with your husband or your wife that you can consider a friend.
I understand that.
There are a lot of acquaintances.
I understand.
If you are lucky in life, you have one or two friends that you can confide in.
And that will be honest with you.
That's the person who will tell you
the truth.
Things that you don't even want to hear, but he's going to find a way to speak it out.
Exactly.
That's the person you call friend.
That's the first.
But a man is the head of his household. All your friend can give you is advice.
And
your friend cannot force you
no.
do anything.
Well, no, your friend is not going to force you. But I'm saying that this is the first step to resolving a problem. If that fails, one of the major issues is that we are codependent. If a woman is intelligent and has a means of livelihood, rather than lose her life, live.
Exactly.
That's correct.
Rather than lose your life, live.
Exactly.
However, if you marry this man because you think, oh, he is a doctor and I don't have to work, he will buy Sokoy and all the crap for me.
That's even a wrong motive.
But that's how most of our women come here.
Exactly.
You are marrying somebody in America that you don't even know. Like I said in the last conversation, we know what he drives, what is it that drives him.
Exactly.
So until you find out what drives him, he may not be a good man for you.
That is correct. And most of our men go home specifically looking for career women, especially nurses. That is money in the bank for them. So when you come here, you make that money. They don't have that access to it that the way they thought that they were going to have access to it. That's some of the causes of this domestic violence.
And now that you're saying that, the last show we had on the causes of domestic violence, Mr. Ken raised that topic.
Yes.
Mr. Ken said most men, not all of them,
yes,
guys, I hope you're listening, not all of them, they will go to Nigeria or go to African, some men, and then they marry these women because according to Ken, they call it investment.
Yes.
And then they bring their investments to America, and their investments are not paying.
Doesn't yield dividend. It's a failed investment.
That's why he calls it a failed investment.
It's time to file for bankruptcy.
And guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.